Welcome to News Laundry Chota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to the last episode of Hafta for the year 2020. A year that was as manhoos as it is going to be cold and already is. We do hope 2021 will be a way better year for the world, full of hope, peace and less bigoted laws. We shall discuss all that in this last episode of Hafta of the year 2020, of which I haven't even missed one, which suggests that I haven't even taken a week's leave in the whole year. Just saying to people who've just come back after 3 weeks and were arguing that 4 weeks would be a better deal.
3 weeks, 2 weeks, yeah.
But you were
Every
saying...
हफ्ता एक increase कर दिया. I just took 2 weeks.
तो एक हफ्ता
We should do
का
a
भी डाल दिया.
survey. What is the regular time people should take off for their wedding?
Yeah, do let us know.
Let us know.
Do you
4
think-
weeks or 2 weeks?
Yeah, do you think 4 weeks is a reasonable expectation of a holiday?
For a life-altering event like marriage.
Right. In which case, I don't know what's her name. That Hollywood actor who got married 13 times, 3 times the same guy. You know, she's
13
comes in
times
the black and white films, yeah. Anyway, she would have got so many leaves. Anyway, but we are recording this hafta on Tuesday and not on Thursday because my wonderful colleagues here, many of whom are very young, said that we'd rather not work on 31st because we normally record on Thursday. So this hafta is being recorded at 4 in the afternoon, 4 in the evening, early evening, late afternoon, on Tuesday the 29th of December, as opposed to our usual Thursdays,
Yeah.
because our young colleagues think that there is going to be some party on.
We want to party on 31st. People don't want to be recording.
I really
and
want to see where they will be partying in this pandemic year.
At home.
So do take videos and share with me how many people you are partying with. Accordingly, we'll decide whether you guys need to show up in office in the first week of Jan or not. Okay? So, Ravansa, have you... Like, I would have thought that they'd be more than happy recording on Thursday because there's something to do on New Year's Eve then, no?
My God, you actually thought that.
Yeah.
But News Laundry traditionally has always had this. I mean, you're forgetting it because you're getting old. But we've never worked.
Well,
We've never worked on the
Speak for
first.
yourself. I have.
No, the whole team has never worked on the
I
first.
think I was
From the beginning, since at least I have been
We
here.
have this thing now. We don't work on first.
Yeah, and it was something you set up back when we were 4
you set up.
people.
You set it up.
You had come once and small screen used to be, and you said, first we never work.
Yeah,
and then you
that's
said, okay.
because, but I come because I remember Ramakant ji and that time Pancham ji were here, which are the first employees of Small Screen that later gave birth to News Laundry. And he used to do the little puja ऐसे कि पहले दिन ही काम नहीं किया तो सारे साल क्या करोगे? So I used to feel very bad that the office boys would show up to light agarbatti, but me and Prashant would not. So since then we used to show up just so we are not judged.
Actually, it should be the other way around. I mean, working on first day of the year sets a bad example for the rest of the year.
Good point. So we have, as you know, Hafta has gone behind the paywall. Those of you listening to this for free, which is the Chota Hafta version on YouTube, if you're earning, have some shame and subscribe and pay to keep news free because my colleagues, this place that we've taken on rent, the equipment, everyone's time costs money, takes resources. I'm proud to say News Laundry has brought amazing ground reports this year, whether it was for the Delhi riots, whether it was the farm laws, whether it was Bihar election.
Hathras.
Amazing young reporters and our amazing desk headed by Mehraj and Jayashree have done amazing work. So your contributions and your subscriptions go towards paying for all that. And as opposed to many people who think reporting is just sitting on your ass and hacking away at a keyboard, the amount of time you spend on the ground is way more significant than what actually you see in the writing bit. So yeah, do contribute, pay to keep news free, and then you will get access to the full, uninterrupted, unedited hafta on our wonderful podcast player. As you know, we have got our new improved website, newslaundry.com, and our new improved podcast player. I have lots more announcements, but I shall get to that after the headlines, which Manisha has prepared a crisp headline roundup for us.
Yes, Mumbai police says Arnab Goswami paid former BARC CEO to boost Republic TV's TRPs. India detects 6 cases of new COVID-19 strain, all were travelers from UK. In a month of UP's Love Jihad law, UP police has registered 14 cases and made 51 arrests, of whom 49 are in jail. Meanwhile, Allahabad High Court has reunited an interfaith couple in UP. The court said that woman has the right to live life on her own terms. Surprise, surprise.
Who would have thought India 2020? And incidentally, the statistic you mentioned on UP, only 2 of those, whatever 47 arrests, are based on the girl actually saying. The rest are
Complaining.
based on
Yeah.
all others.
Karnataka cabinet okays anti-cow slaughter ordinance. And Madhya Pradesh cabinet is set to clear Freedom to Religion Bill 2020 as ordinance today. It is called Freedom to Religion Bill, but it's the same UP law which prohibits forced religious conversion, quote unquote.
And this in the same week where Mamaji or Mamuji, whatever he's called, Mr. Shivraj Chauhan gave an amazing speech where he said, Zameen mein 10 foot niche gaad dunga, kisi ko pata bhi nahi chalega. This is the caliber of our chief ministers.
Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut's wife, Varsha Raut, was summoned by ED in connection with the investigation in the multi-crore scam in Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank. Rajnikant says he won't enter politics, cites
Lord.
health complications.
Theek hai
Really
ji.
cartoonish.
Sorry, Jayashree, your entire Gyan that we asked you to read up and tell us Gyan, it's all gone to waste.
Yeah, health complications.
I don't think anyone is surprised by this development. So.
Rahul Gandhi skips Congress's 136th Foundation Day celebrations. The party is in the defensive and said, is it wrong to visit his grandmother? He's in Milan apparently. And there was like wall-to-wall coverage last night on television news on where is he? Or Kisan Andolan kar rahe hain, or Rahul Gandhi Milan chala gaya. 1,500 mobile towers were damaged in Punjab amid farmers' anger against Jio. Amarinder Singh has issued warning. Protest and opposition ploy, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He signals no yield on demand for a repeal of the laws.
Yeah, I think his speech made it clear that he's digging his heels
Modi's
in.
also said that he's ready to hold talks in the interest of the farmers, but it will be on issues, logic and facts,
Oh, that must be new for him.
which is the domain of BJP only. Anna Hazare is threatened to launch his last protest for farmers.
Yes. Herbie rides again, but Herbie needs an engine, and that engine is formed his own party now. So I don't know how the car's going to ride.
Parvati and Siddhartha Siva's movie Varthamanam on JNU has been rejected by Regional Censor Board.
Yeah, we'd like to discuss a little more on this.
Karnataka Council Deputy Chairman S.L. Dharma Gowda was found dead near railway tracks. Police suspects it's a case of suicide.
They claim that they found a suicide note, but yeah. let's see.
This week, we've had a very interesting series by the Indian Express that tracked the lives of board toppers over the last 20 years to see where they are today. I'll give some details on it when we discuss the story.
Yes, we shall discuss this in some detail.
And Chinese citizen journalist jailed for 4 years over Wuhan pandemic reporting.
And I read about this citizen journalist. If I'm not wrong, it's a she. Yes, it is a she. And
Yes,
she's actually been quite the brave heart. And this is not her first time. In the past, she has done many reports or protests against the government. And which is why she's been given such a harsh sentence of 4 years. I was like, wow, man. And
you know what her reporting was about?
this time it was about, but it's basically
It was a
about just,
pandemic.
it's about the, I mean, she's been an activist in other issues of democracy, but she was asked, I was listening on the BBC podcast, she was asked that, the way you keep criticizing the Communist Party, you can't do that in China and get away with it.
I think the Modi government will take cue from this
Yeah, तो खुश
and
होंगे.
will follow these kind of,
And just one more
Awesome.
headline, because this occurred even as we just started recording. Thousands of farmers have marched to the governor's house in Bihar, in Patna. And the JDU is kind of making noises which suggest that it's not quite on BJP's page.
Surprising. We thought Bihar farmers were very happy. वहाँ पे
That's what we were told, that they were
That's what we were
thrilled.
told. They
And
don't
it
have
was
the mandis.
JDU which kind of like did away with APMC. I mean,
Yeah,
it was, They
exactly.
were part of the government which did away with that.
So this guy is really taken. If I were a Rajnikant fan, I would have just petered my head now and say, यार तू ना पहले फैसला कर ले करना है क्या है, फिर तू उछलियो.
I feel like they're really used to it, considering he's been saying this for 25 years. But yeah, I mean, this year he played it up so much. And I had a feeling he wasn't going to contest, but what an anticlimactic end to the entire thing. After months and months of people trying to write op-eds on what it would mean and trying to analyze what his vote share would be and who is he going to hire to be like his right-hand man? After all that, it just comes to an end. So
Yeah, all those panels who everyone is sitting that this is the legacy of MGR. It is not the legacy.
yeah, is he the next MGR?
Including-
Will he be the next?
Including the Tamil Nadu, political analyst Anand, who used to also do analysis over here, was sitting on a panel talking about. So there were 2-3 hours wasted on this on every channel. So that's totally, I think, on the English channels only about 15 hours over 2 days. And in the letter that he's issued, for those of you who haven't been following the news, he was admitted 2 or 3 days ago for high blood pressure to the hospital, and then he was discharged a day later, and he's issued a letter saying that was a sign from God. So when God doesn't want to do something, gives you high blood pressure.
Yeah, at
Yeah,
least
and he's
said
like
that.
sadly said that, oh, I won't be able to go out onto the streets and campaign. And given that, what is the point of me contesting and so on? It's just such a load of nonsense. I mean, there is one interesting thing that I'm seeing in Tamil Nadu now with the election coming up, which is that there are some cracks forming between the BJP and the ADMK, which, I mean, is not surprising, but it's an interesting sort of twist, because what's happening is the ADMK has announced its chief minister candidate,
Yes.
which is our current CM EPS. But the BJP has announced that their party will choose the chief minister candidate for the alliance. And the ADMK says, no way is that happening. So this has become a very public sort of spat. So they already didn't sort of align on a lot of key issues. So I think this is an interesting to happen just about 3 months before we vote.
Every journalist also on Twitter now feels the need to comment on Rahul Gandhi because he's a low-hanging fruit. Let's shit all over him. Oh, he's gone to Milan. Oh, he's gone on the foundation day, 139th, 136th foundation day
136th.
of Congress. He's gone to, let's trash him, which is fine. But I'm wondering forget the political perspective, unki party, unki business. From a news perspective, is Rahul's disinterest in politics newsworthy?
Can I read some headlines out that came on television?
Please do.
So this is R par Amish Devgan. किसानों की लड़ाई राहुल की छुट्टी पर आई. Then Z News. धरने पे किसान राहुल गए मिलान. Then Rubika Liaquat. छोड़ के पीछे किसान राहुल चले मिलान. This is obviously the same WhatsApp group. And then there's this Asianet News Hindi which is saying नानी घर जाऊंगा दूध मलाई खाऊंगा मोटा होकर आऊंगा फिर तो मुझे politics करवा लेना.
No, I think I look at this slightly differently from the media perspective, why they like pick up these stories. Like one part is like Raman sir said, to build this image of the Pappu. I mean, he is useless. Don't bother about him. And this feeds into that there's no alternative to Modi thing. And this happens because like most of these journalists are sort of they have that ideological persuasion where they believe there's no better leader than Modi and all that. That's one part. But one thing we often sort of tend to overlook is what I call the contentification of media. So what has happened is because you are in the media, you have a 24/7 news channel, you have an online platform where you have to put up something every 10-15 minutes, and social media has only increased that pressure. So you have to put something out, and you can't, farmers protest, it doesn't sell, it doesn't appeal to your like audience in that bubble. So you have to create something out of nothing. So this is that.
So right now they're asking questions like, why isn't he at the farmers' protests if he cares so much? I mean, has Narendra Modi visited the farmers at the border? I don't think so. Isn't that the bigger question? So the movie is called Vartamanam, which means like, I think it means news, but I'm not really sure. So it stars Parvati and I think Roshan Matthew. It's about a Muslim woman from Kerala who goes to JNU to do her PhD or something, where she's researching a Muslim freedom fighter from Kerala called Muhammad Abdul Rahman. And that's when the students' protests and struggle against the establishment breaks out at JNU, and she's obviously aligns to it politically, and she joins the struggle. So this is the basic premise of the movie. So what happened is they applied for permission to the regional office of the censor board to screen the movie, and it was denied. So according to reports, there were 2 people on the censor board panel who opposed it. One of them is the state vice president of the BJP Morcha in Kerala. And he had tweeted, and has since deleted the tweet, that the movie shows JNU protests and Dalits and Muslims being targeted. He opposes it because the cinema's producer and scriptwriter is a Congress member. And he said the premise of the film was decidedly anti-national. So now the producer scriptwriter is a Congress guy called Aryaran Shaukat. His father is a very senior Congress leader in the state. So at the end of the day, I mean, the issue is, his issues with it were that the Congress leader is involved even though he has a history of working in film in Kerala. And the second is that it's anti-national. So, okay, to address the first part, I think anybody can produce a film that should make a difference. I mean, 90% I'm sure of the films in Tamil Nadu are produced or supported or written by people who have political affiliations or who are party members. The censor board shouldn't be an arena to settle political scores. I think the second thing is that the Malayalam film industry in general is like a sort of repudiation of everything the BJP stands against. It's got prominent actors and producers who are Muslim. It has themes that don't sort of stick to the very Hinduized ethos of like Bollywood cinema. So it's slightly inevitable that the BJP would start to come after the Malayalam film industry. But also this brings back the question of what is this issue of being anti-national? It's something that we've been hearing more and more over the last couple of years. So what does anti-national mean? What does it mean when a film is anti-national? And these are things that have become very commonplace now, that people are arrested on the basis of being anti-national. So it's a terrible thing, but there's a lot of public backlash. So they may have to sort of backtrack now.
This is the reason I think political films don't get made in India, which is why pop culture is actually a very effective way of informing, a mass audience about political discourse, even bloody, if it's one-sided political discourse, but even films in Hollywood, which are against the Vietnam War, they get so much of play. A film like JFK, there's, in Britain, the kind of anti-establishment films that are very political, even if it's pro-establishment. यहाँ पर वो culture नहीं है because no one wants to touch it because of shit like this.
This is an important point. I mean, like Jayashree pointed out, the Malayalam cinema is very diverse. You have actors, directors, producers, writers from across the communities and religions. That is not the case in Bollywood. That is why for the longest time, I mean, they have just peddled nonsense into all that stuff.
So should people go abroad if they have opportunities?
Well, not should. But
I don't blame them for it. I don't judge them for it. But I think what the survey mainly does is, apart from the interest value, I think it does throw up very predominantly the question of caste. You look at all those surnames, they're all very upper caste surnames. And I remember in school, like we'd keep learning about things like brain drain, right? Like in civics and history and all. But what they never really taught us was how it is also a function of caste. Most of the people going abroad were those who could afford it and those who came from those castes. So even now, we're still stuck in that same system where the upper castes are still doing better, the lower castes cannot.
I was reading this sort of research. It's a research paper by Daniel Lorison and et al. And it looks at the intergenerational mobility of adults, like between castes and stuff. Overwhelmingly, whatever the caste and the caste occupation of your parents will likely be your caste occupation. And at most, you will go just one step down. If you are, say, in the top caste, like your Brahman, Kshatriya, you'll at most go one step down in the professional ladder. Say, for example, if you are like an MBA or you are in a government job, you'll go one step down. But for the lower caste, it goes way down. So this intergenerational mobility isn't happening. And the one sort of solution that was thought would work was education. But now you're seeing that the selection happens very early. So you have a problem there.
Now, not everybody who backs Yogi is a bigot. But this law is clearly bigoted. There is no way to spin it. And if one normalizes this, it's a question of time before Yogi does a Trump on you and says, boss, if you're caught even making a call or eating biryani at your friend's house on Eid, you will also be in jail.
Seriously, that's the next thing.
I'm telling you. And
that is the next thing.
And people say, this is exaggeration. This would be an exaggeration 5 years ago, but now it's true.
No. I mean, what's happening with the love jihad stuff in UP is...
A 16-year-old taking another 16-year-old for a pizza is suddenly arrested for love jihad.
And even if you read Prateek's story, who's done a report on this from Madhya Pradesh, basically the Hindu, the Sangh affiliates, Sangh and the Sangh affiliates, how they zero in on couples. So they have a proper network from courts. I mean, they have lawyers in courts who tell them that there's an interfaith marriage happening. And the moment there's marriage being registered in Special Marriages Act, they land up there to raise an objection, and then you have to wait for 1 month anyway. That's what the law says. So it's a well-oiled network of people. I mean, lawyers in courts, neighbors, just prying neighbors, seeing...
like security guards at restaurants and parks who contact them if they see couples.
If there's a Muslim guy...
Even in Moradabad case, it was the lawyer of, this girl who had informed this Bajrang Dal. people?
I think over the past few years, whatever our elderly people may be like, the young people really moving towards, I think young people have truly had freedom over the past 7-10 years in that way, in terms of living in together, falling in love, premarital sex, or movies showing like young people mingling, kissing and stuff like that. So we were kind of, I think for the young Indian at least, we were moving towards a progressive direction, even if you have your parents, dadi, nana, whatever saying ki nahi, ye sab nahi kar sakte. But this kind of takes you back completely. And the police, the state has the authority, which is scary. You can fight moral policing. I mean, if I want to fight my parents, if I want to fight my neighbors, I still can. It still takes a lot of courage, but with friend support or whatever, or, there's still a way to coming around to fighting that. But how do you fight a police? How do you fight FIRs? I mean, on top of fighting your family, you now also have to fight a police that wants you in jail for, falling in love with someone from the other faith. And that's really, it's just going back.
To answer the second part first, I don't think he has to go far at all. I think everyone is perfectly aware of what this law means. They can color it up by trying to call it something else, but they know what it is. And the fact is that people support it. This is what people want. And I really do think that these are test runs. Like what we're seeing in Uttar Pradesh now is a test run for what they're planning to bring out, maybe even on a nationwide level. So in 2014, I think people were willing to overlook Godhra to elect on this plank of development. I would give them a pass, maybe. I mean, not really, but maybe, yeah, whatever. And I think a year later, you could still defend it as we voted for development, we're waiting for it now. But now anyone who does support Modi, who supports Yogi Adityanath, is a bigot.
Anyway, I just think 2020 has been the year of completely bigoted laws. And this is black and white. I mean, there is especially even the rhetoric that has gone with it. I am not so firm on the thing that it was so clear to everybody earlier, while it may be for those of us who follow news as closely as we do. But for, regular people for whom it's just this, they just read a couple of headlines a day and you'd be surprised. We assume everybody is as well read as us. Like many people you say, have you heard of this speech? They've never heard of it. And we guys have charted, I don't know how much. But I think this year, the kind of rhetoric one has seen on news platforms, in political speeches, which are for mass consumption, and in the law and its wording, I don't think there's any grey anymore. And I think that is why 2020 was significant other than Corona.
No, I was just saying that on this, people realizing or not, I, for one, am not very comfortable calling all Modi voters, Modi voters bigots. I think that's really very simplistic. People vote for so many different reasons. It's really not and people are very ideological. It's usually the very privileged who can be ideological. And in that privileged, I do think the right wing, like say Jaggi supporting demonetization, Swapan Das Gupta, looking away when love jihad happens, or a Kanchan Gupta, when that Tuktuki Mondal thing had happened, supporting what the BJP narrative is, that's bigoted, I think, for sure. Because these are people who are well-read, they know, what's happening. They have more means than most people in the country to understand. So I'd maybe call that bigoted or foolish. I mean, for Jaggi to support demonetization is just ridiculous. But I think for an average voter who voted for Modi in 2019, I think it's too simplistic to say that they're just bigots or they wanted an exclusion of Muslims and that's why they voted for Modi. I mean, that's a separate conversation altogether. And on this, I was having an interesting conversation with my friend over the weekend who's very troubled with her parents' bigotry, so to speak, quote unquote. So she's been trying to brainwash them, school them, typical anti-JNU, anti-CAA, pro-Modi kind of people. And she said something quite interesting to me that, I'm reaching out to them and I think I'm reaching some point of conversation with them where I'm able to convince them that a lot of what they're saying is incorrect. And, I know they're not bigots. They didn't raise me to be one. And I think that's something we're forgetting. A lot of these conversations that we hear from our parents and relatives, they didn't raise us to be like this. Right. We didn't hear these conversations.
If they were ideological,
yeah.
So
she's like, I wouldn't have been this if my parents had raised me to hate. And what we forget is that today people are intense victims of mass propaganda from WhatsApp and news. I will never judge anyone today who comes to me and says ki Tablighi Jamaat spread corona, because that's what they were told for 2 weeks. Yeah. And when the truth came out, no one told them that.
By the most quote unquote.
I really look at people as victims. So what this news propaganda is doing to that generation is something that we're seeing.
No, I was going to say that, yeah, I agree that some people, they're fed certain things through media and they do trust it and so on. But I don't quite agree that with the thing about families didn't bring us up to be bigots. I think what is marvelous is that a lot of people, despite their upbringing, have turned out not to be bigots, because we are all brought up to believe certain things in terms of our caste and our religion and our bigotry and so on. And the fact that people turned out differently is a great thing. So that is something that I would applaud way more than the reverse.
Before my reading recommendation, I have a recommendation on how you can change the world in 2021. Let that be your New Year resolution, because the world has changed through no action of yours, unless you were a super spreader. And by that, I mean you're one of those page 3 people who attended a party, like there were many in Delhi, who spread it, as opposed to what the news channels would have us believe. So the world changed in ways beyond your control. Now you can change the world within your control by paying to keep news free. You see, the biggest change that is happening, at least in the digital space, is the fundamental revenue model for news. And the speed at which it has happened in our country has beaten many experts who used to pelo gyan to me about this 7-8 years ago. And I'm so glad to see some of them themselves are asking for subscriptions after telling me how shit my idea was. So you can change that, and the thousands of News Laundry subscribers have done that. And I can confidently say we are more comfortable than those who are depending on ads. And you can change the world, you can change the entire fundamental model of news by recommending to others that they too pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. So on that note, thank you everybody.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful
Happy New Year.
2021. I hope it is full of hope and good things, and we can leave 2020 behind as a bad memory.
सुन लिया अफ्रीका, मुंह फत खोरों. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free.
All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.